Should your players dare to cross the vast desert to seek out the great red mesa where the near mythical mine of Ahidl Moor is rumored to lie? Should they seek out the great hammer Earthrender, which legend tells bestows lordship upon any dwarf who holds it? Am I holding an adventure worth bringing to the table for your low level Castles and Crusades characters? Well, you're going to find out because I will be reviewing Ahidl's Keep from Troll Lord Games right after this. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I will be reviewing Ahidl's Keep for Castles and Crusades from Troll Lord Games. This is written by Jeremy Farkas, and the adventure is designed for low-level Castles and Crusades characters. The 25-page softcover is available now. It carries an MSRP of $10.99. If you want to just score the PDF, you can do so for a current sale price of $5.59 over at DriveThruRPG. Having said that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Ahidl's Keep. A few things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Troll Lord Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. And these days, it's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each of the 25 pages, but I do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside this adventure. And then lastly, this is a Castles and Crusades adventure. So if you're a player and your castle keeper has already picked this up, maybe they just haven't started running it yet, maybe they've been talking about picking this up. Keep in mind, there are going to be some spoilers ahead. Just want to let you know that right up front. Now, of course, if your castle keeper has been kicking around picking up this adventure, let them know about this review. That way they can approach Ahidl's Keep and make a far more informed buying decision. First thing we'll do is take a peek at the credits page. Let's give credit where credit is due. Head to left because according to this, the interior art is provided by people. I think it's all Peter Bradley, but still, I thought that was kind of funny. People, not AI, people. Soylent Green is also people. Ahidl's Keep started life as a tournament adventure for last year's GaryCon. Now, the printed adventure has been expanded a bit. There's even an optional starting point to the adventure. This is for low-level characters, although it's not explicitly stated what level range this is for. So I would say probably second to fourth, maybe, because you are going to take on some lower level monsters throughout, although there is a dragon hatchling at the end. There you go. There's a spoiler for you. And I'll be honest, I would probably change that up a little bit. I'll talk about that when we get to that point. But for the most part, we're looking at goblins, kobolds, orcs, and bugbears. But the thing is, you will actually encounter fairly good-sized groups. So there is a fighting pit with the orcs area where the player characters might end up taking on up to 10 orcs. And then they have to take on an orc champion as well. So like I said, I don't really see first level characters, but you might be able to pull that off. All depends on how many players you have at your table, or I should say how many player characters are going to be operating at your table. Because this was a tournament, it's adventure. Tournament adventures tend to have bigger player counts. I would think probably 6 to 8 players is what was the tournament number. Whereas, most people at home, they're lucky if they can get 4 to 6 players on a regular basis. So once again, I would say probably second and third level characters, maybe fourth level. But we'll also point out this is not the sort of adventure where your player characters are just going to go from area to area and just fight and kill everything. This is not a Monty Hall sort of adventure. Is that an option that's available? Of course it is. But there are also options available for the player characters to parlay with the kobolds and the orcs and the bugbears. Now, remember, one of the things that the player characters are looking to find is that dwarven hammer, earthrender, which the bugbears have. And they're not real keen about giving it up, but they could be convinced. Now, you're going to have the players start off with the Tomb of the Dwarf Lord, and there is a lot of treasure, especially for lower level characters, that is available if the player characters are able to open up the sarcophagus and decide they're going to loot the Dwarven Lord. There's a really nice mail shirt, which increases armor class by 6. There's thousands of gold pieces in treasure. Funny enough, there is no mention of the player characters being haunted by maybe the ghost of the Dwarf Lord if they do ransack his tomb. Personally, I would probably throw that in. If I were using this to start off a campaign, I would certainly look to maybe incorporate the Dwarf Lord not being too thrilled with the player characters if they were to happen to ransack his tomb. So I like that quite a bit. The big bad here is a blue dragon hatchling. I'll be very honest. When I'm running a fantasy role-playing game, we've got low-level characters. I don't like to bust out dragons on them right away. I think dragons should be really impressive. Now, I'm not saying that you have to wait until your player characters are 15th level before they encounter a dragon. But in this case, they have to battle this blue dragon hatchling. Now, if they haven't made progress negotiating with the orcs and bugbears and kobolds, your players are going to have a really tough battle ahead. And it would not be shocking to see a total party kill take place if your players have approached this adventure as if it were a Monty Hall dungeon delve, because they won't have the necessary backup to be able to take on this blue dragon hatchling. And yes, it's a hatchling, but it's still pretty powerful. And once again, you've got low level characters. I would probably swap the dragon out for a drake or maybe a wyvern, maybe a young wyvern. Now, there is some background story about why that dragon hatchling is there, but I would kind of hand wave that. But all in all, this is an interesting adventure. It's got quite a bit going on, and it's not your typical, oh, it's for low-level characters, so all they're doing is killing rats in the basement of the tavern. This also makes for a very nice continuation of the adventuring that you would find in the starter set for Castles and Crusades, which I have previously reviewed. All right, so that is a peek inside Ahidl's Keep for Castles and Crusades from Troll Lord Games. Let's swing on over to the other camera. I'm going to share some final thoughts as well as my review score. So all in all, I think this is a solid adventure. Is it spectacular? No, it's not blowing the doors off of anything, but it is still a very workmanlike adventure. And you tend to see lower level adventures, they're kind of hamstrung in certain ways. There's only so much you can do, especially nowadays when most players, they have the assumption that everything you run across has to be engaged in combat. That is kind of the mindset of a lot of newer players to the hobby. Whereas Ahidl's Keep is a bit more old school in its approach. But all in all, very solid adventure. I would make some tweaks here and there, but I think that your players out there will enjoy this if you happen to pick it up. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Castles and Crusades Ahidl's Keep from Trollord Games a 7 out of 10. That is it for this time out. If you enjoyed the Gaming Gang, if you find this to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, there are a few different ways that you can support the outlet. First, by using our affiliate links to the One Bookshelf sites, such as DriveThruRPG. If you are going to do that, if you're swinging by any of the One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a 5% commission on most sales. Now, of course, all those commissions really do add up, help keep thegaminggang.com around. You can also make a one-time donation by way of PayPal and become a monthly member of our Patreon. You'll find more information about that down in the show notes. Also in those show notes, you're going to find an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free to sign up, so be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. Of course, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. And if you ring the bell, be sure to select all notifications, because you'll not only be informed when I share videos such as this review, you'll also find out when my live stream, The Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. Yes, I bring you the latest in tabletop role-playing game news and more. Of course, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for our latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are never going to see here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you for watching. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.